You are now entering Video Village.
Go Vizslas!
Coming up,
We review Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man,
1,000 Blows,
The Brutalist,
Memoir of a Snail,
Companion.
and Piglet and Mouse of Horrors.
Again, we're not going to do a Sam's Lexa Causanter this episode.
Okay.
We're going to jump straight into reviews. And I think you've basically seen everything.
This might be the episode where I've seen all the things.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to start with Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Oh, I thought that was you. There was a third lyric there.
I don't know.
That was going to be not very good, Spider-Man.
Police brutality, Spider-Man.
Okay. Well, is it worth premising it? I mean, what is it? It's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
It's Spider-Man.
It does whatever a spider... Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, okay, so what's... Yeah, is there anything different about it, really, from, like...
Black.
Okay.
He's not black.
No.
But everyone else is.
Pretty much, yeah.
No, it's just like another Spider-Man thing where they've kind of changed some of the roles and ethnicities of the characters.
Yeah, I don't know how intentional it was. Probably knowing what Marvel are like. Because they know they're at a point now where all you have to do is reference something they've already done. And most people go, oh my god, this is good.
Clapping seals.
Yeah. But, wow, is that a record in terms of, like, bitterness around an MCU project? We're there already.
Okay, yeah, probably. I mean, we're starting with it, to be fair.
Yeah, but no, it does seem to, like, kind of parallel Tom Holland's introduction into the MCU. Like, I think more so in the first episode.
Okay.
There's, like, certain events where it kind of, like, at the end of the first episode, he comes home and Aunt May is there and she's speaking to someone and, oh, look, it's tech billionaire Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
So it's not, Tony Stark in the thing, but it's Norman Osborn here. And then I think in the background of one of the episodes, you see the airport fight from Civil War, which obviously this Spider-Man is not a part of.
Right.
So it's a different, it's multiverse, but it's like in its own universe. It doesn't like move around or anything.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, look, this is kind of like the events of the other Spider-Man, but it's not. It's its own thing.
It's sort of redundant now, isn't it, to say that this is part of the MCU, because they just all are now, right?
Yeah, even the stuff that wasn't is...
Yeah.
So because it was Daredevil, which we'll talk about when it's done, I'm assuming. But like that's on at the moment, and that's like...
Yeah.
Very much the fourth season.
But yeah, I suppose people with a casual understanding of the MCU, maybe it still needs clarifying that, yeah, the Tom Holland Spider-Man and all that is still there. This is a completely different Spider-Man, but it's still part of that universe. But in a multiverse way.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
It's a show that's conscious of the fact that the MCU is out there somewhere.
Yes.
Even if the show itself, even if the characters within the show are not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much Spider-Man, it's hard to care.
Yeah.
Too much Spider-Man in the world.
There's a lot of Spider-Man.
It's part of the MCU. It has things about it that people will like. It's colourful. It depicts racism, because that's what Spider-Man was missing. Too many characters. It's very racially diverse. Not didactically so most of the time, more insistently so.
Okay.
As it, not like, racial blur. It's more just, there's a lot of not white people in this, isn't
Okay.
there? Not saying that's a problem, but, I think...
No, what do you mean by that?
Well, I just mean it's clear on its face. It's like when someone does, a version of Romeo and Juliet where they're all gay now. And you go, I do notice.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming they want you to notice.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet.
They just have nothing, they just can't, there's nothing to do with, oh, it's Norman Osborn, but he's black now.
Yes.
Like, they don't do anything with that, because there is nothing to do with that.
No, he just is black now.
Yeah.
And Norman Osborn says, with great power comes great respect. Like, haha. But I did think that was a neat construction to illustrate the difference in the philosophy.
It feels like it's the first time that the show is actually doing something with the fact that it's not just like it's a different mentor from Tony Stark, but it's a villain. Yeah. Because at that point he doesn't know he's a villain. It's kind of I think that's around the point in the show where it starts to come out that Norman Osborn has villainous intentions.
Yes.
But up until that point, it's kind of the Mysterio thing again from...
that the ball's going to drop at some point.
Well, that's why it's the Mysterio thing. Yeah. It's like, no, it's sure. Mysterio. I don't pretend to me that it's not. I know it's Mysterio. I know he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And it's very much the same. It does go on for long enough where I thought, oh, maybe it won't be.
Yes.
Maybe that's
not this season at least.
Yeah. Maybe that's what the race swap indicates. Is like, oh no, we want you to think of this as a different entity to the Norman Osborn you know.
Right.
So we're gonna, it's like he's a different race now, and he's good, and he's actually trying, and
yes.
But no, at some point
once he was white of skin and black of heart.
Yeah.
But I get like him saying that again, and I realise now that my mind is so frazzled from doing these podcasts that I'm referencing things that are in my notes for future episodes as things we've talked about in the past.
Oh, right, okay.
So I think I said this in the last episode, but here's in real time where I'm actually making the point. Is what he said there is the left, basically. And they actually don't treat those in power with respect. They hate them, but they betray their respect in wanting it for themselves.
Okay.
And I made that point about something else, referencing this point now.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it comes down to I just don't care. I just don't care about this show at all.
Yeah.
I won't be going back. It's the highest rated show of the year on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, I think it's 100% or close to it.
Wow, okay.
But that's just because are you going to give it a bad review? Like, I don't know. Like, I might, but it does what it's doing. It's just a big nothing to me.
Okay.
Do you know? Like, how do you feel about it?
My biggest problem with it is more its kind of its presentation above its content. Because that's the thing. This is an animated Spider-Man show that is trying to very clearly evoke or even just replicate the style of the old Spider-Man comic books.
Yeah.
The opening sequence even has like the title cards are all like comic book covers that have like you know, the edition number and the price and the suit that gets represented in that episode and everything. The problem is, though, there's not a person listening to this podcast who didn't just hear what I said and immediately thought, oh, like Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and also that's the thing, because of Spider-Verse, that's the thing now, is, let's do everything that was kind of made in the early noughties as a kind of traditional mainstream blockbuster, but do it in the style of the very original product, you know? So yeah, let's do it so it looks like a comic book.
Yeah.
And I think the next Bond film, I'd be surprised if it wasn't a period piece.
Okay.
Because a lot of people are talking about that now.
Yeah.
And it'll be an adaptation of Casino Royale or whatever that's in the 50s.
Okay. Do you think they would start with Dr. No again, maybe? Because I know that...
Well, Casino Royale's the original book.
I know Casino Royale's the original book, but obviously Dr. No was the first film, if I'm remembering correctly.
First film, but yeah, like 6th or 7th book.
Yeah, and also the most recent Bond film, he wasn't Dr. No, but there was a lot about it that was very Dr. No.
And everyone thought it was going to turn out to be Dr. No.
So do you think it would also be, like, Amazon could go, oh, look, we're tackling the first Bond again.
Yeah.
But they could subtly be going like, oh no, ours is better. Because, like, you've just seen this, but we're doing it better.
I imagine they'll probably release 3 Bond things at the same time, so...
Yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it? Because since the buyout, there's been people saying, oh, they're talking about a female Bond series. They're talking about a Moneypenny series. They're talking about this. And it's hard to know if any of those are serious discussions.
I think all of that's bullshit.
Okay.
All of that, nobody knows. It's all just conjecture.
Yeah.
But I'm not confident about them having the rights to it.
Yeah.
But I don't think anything has been really... I don't think the public has been informed of anything.
No.
Or anything has been genuinely leaked. I think they're probably still thinking about what they want to do with it.
Yeah, and whatever they do, it'll probably start with the next Bond. They're not going to start with the Moneypenny show.
No, they're going to start with the next Bond film.
Yeah.
And then off the back of which... It'll be like the Batman. It'll be like that.
Okay.
So then we'll get the Penguin afterwards and whatever else is coming our way.
Yeah.
Anyway, they don't really care about your friendly neighborhood spider.
Yeah, but that's what it just to kind of revisit the animation and the art style. It's like, I mean, I think the art style is fine because I think it's very clear right off the bat what it's doing.
Yes.
Like that visual language is immediately was immediately recognizable to me as someone that never read those comic books.
Yes.
And has no relationship to them. So it's clearly doing its job, but I don't think it's a show that moves very well.
Okay.
Because that's the thing about Spider-Verse is that it kind of did a similar thing where it's using the like comics as a foundation and its visual language is very much based on comic books. But it's got an animation style that is totally its own.
Yes.
Even when it's mixing animation styles, it feels like it's doing its completely its own spin on it.
Yeah.
To the point where there are shows and films that aren't even using Spider-Verse as an inspiration, but people are bringing up Spider-Man in the conversation surrounding them. Usually when it's like mixed animation or stuff like that, people think of Spider-Verse now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you could do an animated Spider-Man show after the Spider-Verse films and not be aware of the fact you're going to be compared to them.
Of course.
But it just doesn't look... I think the problem is that art style was obviously composed with the understanding that it was going to be presented in a medium where there was no movement.
Right.
And so the art style had to kind of imply movement where there was none.
Yes.
So when you translate that into a medium where there is movement and you start applying movement on top of that, it all just looked a bit clunky to me.
Yeah. That's what you're saying.
And I think the backgrounds, they're not particularly detailed, and I think you can tell there are some scenes where... I know animation does this all the time, but you could really tell it here where like the people in the background, they're not really moving and they're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needed to be impressive, and it needed to be different from Spider-Verse for it to stand on its own. And I don't... It's different from Spider-Verse, but it's not as impressive. And so, for me, at the very least, obviously it seems to have resonated with other people, as you suggested. But this is, like, inferior... Like, I've got Spider-Verse, why would I come back to this?
It's just a lot blander than Spider-Verse as well. I mean, Spider-Verse, the animation is incredibly impressive, but as you know, I'm not really an animation guy.
Yeah.
Not to say I don't admire and appreciate good animation, but it's got to be the other stuff that like makes me fall in love with it. I like it a lot, and I do like Spider-Verse a lot.
Yeah.
And it's the humor and the tone and the writing and the dialogue and all that kind of stuff. Then this doesn't have that.
No.
So we don't recommend it, I don't think.
No, we don't. Do you think the show's resting on its laurels a bit? Because it thinks like, because we're doing an official Spider-Man project from the official vendors of Spider-Man. We're Marvel, this is like a proper Marvel show. And so it's kind of...
resting on its laurels.
Maybe not trying as hard as it needs to.
Yeah, certainly not trying as hard. But also it's in the wake of X-Men, which... I mean, production schedule, I don't know exactly how... But X-Men was so well received, it's like, oh, well, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of do what they were doing. And
yeah, I mean, the thing with X-Men is that, like, it had to try because it had a legacy to uphold. Not just of those characters, but of that show, which it was...
it was reviving a beloved 90s show.
Yeah. And so, on the one hand, it had a framework that it could work from, but at the same time, it couldn't be worse. It couldn't be a worse version of that.
Yes.
Whereas this is kind of clean slate, so...
Yeah, fresh start.
Yeah, I guess they didn't... Yeah, I'm just wondering if they didn't feel like they needed to push the boat out that far for this.
It's just kind of why do it at all? I mean, I know why they're doing it, but we have the Holland Spider-Man. The Spider-Verse exists. It's like, why another thing?
Yeah.
Why are you bothering to go near this property? Like, if someone said to me, oh, do you want to do an animated Spider-Man film? Only poverty would make me say yes. I just kind of go, why would I?
Yeah.
I'm not going to top Spider-Verse.
No.
I think it's pretty much untoppable as an animated Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
The first one, I'm just talking about the first one here.
Okay.
And the second one's good, but I'm talking about the first one.
Yeah. I don't think we can really cement our opinion on the second one until the second part comes out, really. Yeah,
if the next one comes out.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that all you have for Spider-Man?
Yeah, that's all I have to say, really. Yeah. Because that's the thing, is that the only way I think you could really do a review on this is if you're kind of directly kind of answering the people that do like it.
If you're really into the MCU, and so the details you're kind of microscopically talking about, we aren't those people.
No, and so unfortunately there's nothing we can really bring to the conversation other than if there is another person out there that doesn't like this show, it's okay, you're not alone.
You're not alone. Yeah. A Thousand Blows.
Yeah.
Do you want to premise this one?
I'll try.
Okay.
Because I think there's a couple of moving pieces to this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2, 3.
Yeah. So this is not a mini-series, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah. I was under the impression going in it was a mini-series, but it makes it clear at the end that it has no intention of being one.
I think it was 2 seasons were ordered.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, from the off, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, we do actually see clips from the second season. So it's not it's not a hopeful thing. Like, there is a second season there that will come eventually. Yeah, these 2 Jamaican chaps, they come over to London in, like, the 1880s, I think it is.
Yeah,
it's like that kind of era, Victorian era. Victorian. Is it Victorian era?
Yeah, it's Victorian, yeah.
Victorian era. They come over, like, they've got basically no money in their pocket. The main one, Hezekiah Moscow, he wants to be a lion tamer.
Yeah.
And so his intention is to go to the zoo, but he finds out that there are no lions there to tame. The intention is that he is going to be the attraction.
Yes.
So that dream is dead. And it's around this time that he's staying in, like, this, just kind of like this shitty little place in the shitty part of London. And across the way is a bar run by 2 brothers, one of which being Stephen Graham, who host these, like, boxing matches there. Bare knuckle boxing matches. And Hezekiah and Alec, is that the other Jamaican fellow?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. They were both boxers, or they're both capable of boxing, and so they get into a match with the brothers, and that kind of triggers a rivalry between the 2 of them. There's also a group of pickpocketers, female pickpocketers, called the 40 Elephants.
Yeah.
This is all kind of loosely based on things that actually happened. Right?
They were a real gang.
Yeah, they were a real gang.
I don't know about the other... Obviously, there was bare knuckle fist fight.
I think Hezekiah was a real figure.
Okay.
I don't know if the heist that happens actually happened. I feel like it probably did.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're pickpocketers, but one of the members of the 40 Elephants has her eyes on conducting a heist, which would involve stealing silver from the royal family, who intend to gift it to these Chinese diplomats that are coming over.
Yes.
And then there's some other stuff thrown in there as well, but that's kind of what it is.
It's about these three figures and being in each other's orbit and how that affects their lives.
Yeah. It's from the Peaky Blinders fellow, right?
Stephen Knight.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't seen Peaky Blinders. You're more familiar with it than I am.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is like doing a similar thing or whether he's trying to move off in a different direction.
It's a similar kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Peaky Blinders is early 20th century.
Right.
This is just before that, so it's kind of the immediate precursor to how life is depicted in Peaky Blinders.
Okay.
But Stephen Knight has a pretty impressive and extensive CV. Yes, crucially Peaky Blinders and Taboo. Do you remember that, the Tom Hardy show?
I never saw it.
Okay. Like, they're the two main ones as far as this is concerned. But some of his other credits include Dirty Pretty Things, Eastern Promises, and Locke. The last few years haven't been as great.
Okay.
He did that, what was that crappy McConaughey Hathaway film? It was like, it's like a femme fatale romance thriller thing, but then it turns out to not all be a video game at the end.
Oh, yeah. That's ringing a bell.
There's a boat involved, I think.
It's not The Circle, is it?
No, like the Emma Watson. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about anyway.
Yeah. So, mixed bag. Given that it's partly about Jamaican immigrants in Victorian London, the show does depict racism, but it's eminently acceptable and seems true to life. They find it a bit harder to get rooms.
Yeah.
They're referred to thoughtlessly as shadows, but it's not insane.
Yeah.
You know? I would say the other points of reference include Ripper Street and the Artful Dodger, as well as the Nick and Deadwood in the States.
Okay.
And the underclass of immigrants of London, Jamaican, Chinese, etc., who form like a kind of fraternity, don't they?
Yeah.
That reminded me of Dirty Pretty Things, which I recommend, and Eastern Promises, if you haven't seen it. Stephen Graham is bulked up for the role, but his physique is realistic. The same with Malachi Kirby. Now, Graham has always had an intimidating presence for a shorter bloke.
Yes.
Here, he doesn't have a whole lot to say. He threatens and menaces, brimming with contained rage, on top of which he's doing a Cockney accent here.
Yes.
A Scouse was one thing, but he's now fully actualised as Stephen Graham.
Right. You think Cockney is what true Stephen Graham feels like, is
he's
it?
very Liverpudlian, Stephen, or like that area. I'm not sure if he's actually from Liverpool. So I'm not saying like, oh, you're now more genuine. But if you're playing like, I'm sort of Danny Dyer, not he's tough, but you know what I mean? Like, that sort of who's wide boy type.
Who's the Cockney in this? Is it not David something? The guy that's like helping to run the pub.
His brother, you mean?
No, the barman. Who introduces the boxing matches.
Daniel.
Yes, Daniel Mays.
Daniel Mays. Yeah. Yes, very small role. I can only imagine it gets bigger in season 2.
Yeah, that's
because it was almost like a cameo, wasn't it?
Yeah. I will say, Stephen Graham is kind of what drew us to this show. Us as in, like, me and my family.
Right.
I don't know if it was the same for you.
I just watch everything, don't I?
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
But no, I'm always happy to see Stephen Graham.
Yeah, and then I think when you go onto Disney Plus to watch it, the poster has them all on it, but then the kind of, like, the banner image, I think it's just Stephen Graham in the corner.
Okay.
So they're very much foregrounding Stephen Graham.
Yes.
It's not really his show.
No, it's
good
Malachi
Kirby's. He's good in everything. But
yeah. Kirby and Aaron Doherty is really the head of the
pickpockets. Stephen Graham is kind of like the third wheel in that dynamic.
Yes.
And that's fine because he does what he does well. Yeah. But I guess like if you're going into the show for him, just temper your expectations a little bit.
Yeah, he's not the lead.
No,
he's not the lead. There's more than one moment where the spectre of This Is England's combo is invoked.
Oh, right.
With him.
Yeah.
Gary Lewis also shows up here and there. Not in a macho role, admittedly, but it's a show Chock-a with Ard Nuts.
Yes.
Is what I would say. Yeah, Aaron Doherty's Mary Carr feels perhaps a little anachronistic, but this was a real gang, like we said, and they have always been female scoundrels, just fewer. I had no problem with it, which demonstrated to me the show had built a goodwill.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's the kind of world in which I could see Guy Ritchie or Matthew Vaughn making a film. Thank God it's not them. It's a very easy watch, like The Artful Dodger. There's plenty of tasty dialogue. The world is pretty small, but it captures a bigger one. You know, it really feels like a city at that time, even though it's basically a square, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like EastEnders or something.
Yeah.
I think the takeaway is it's solid.
Yeah.
I don't think it's brilliant. I think it's just solid entertainment.
Yeah.
That's kind of all I have, really.
Yeah. So, yeah. I wouldn't add much more to that.
Yeah.
I think it does kind of... It feels like it's got its own little identity, you know, because I think the soundtrack is very unique to that show. Mm-hmm. It's kind of... It's not fully, what you call it, when it's just voices.
A cappella.
It's not fully a cappella, but the music is very a cappella focused.
Right.
There's like instrumentation underneath that, but it's all kind of like voices and chants and everything.
Yeah.
But kind of like fun. It's not like...
Yeah, no, it's a kind of zippy show. It's, even though it's kind of poverty and grim South London, so it's not like in the muck in that way. It's more Oliver Twist and not as jaunty as that. But, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. Oliver and the Oliver twist. I don't think there's less jaunt in Oliver twist.
And the Artful Dodger as well, which had its own flavour of jaunt.
Yes.
Yeah, and all the performances were pretty good. Like, I think everyone kind of captured what they needed to.
Speaking of the soundtrack as well, it's good that he distanced it from Peaky Blinders. That's famous for its contemporary soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
Using modern songs, but, anachronistically.
Yeah.
And this doesn't do that.
No.
So that was good, because they really would feel like a cousin, more of a cousin than it already is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's all I got for that.
Yeah, there's not much to say about it, but that's not...
No, because it's decent.
Yeah.
We'd have more to say if it wasn't.
Yeah. So give it a go.
Give it a go. The Brutalist.
Yeah, all right.
Do you want to take the premise?
Oh, could I?
Just, you don't have to do the whole thing. Just, like the setup, I suppose.
Yeah, I think if anyone knows anything about this film, other than Adrian Brody's in it, because obviously he won the Oscar recently for it. Yeah, it's 3 hours 20.
Yes, it is.
It does have an intermission.
It does.
So it's at least aware that it's 3 hours 20.
It knows it's long.
It knows it's long. It's about Laszlo... What's his name? Laszlo Tóth.
It's spelled Tóth, but I think it's Tóth.
Laszlo Tóth. Yes, that's the thing. It's the pronunciation of it.
It's Hungarian, yeah.
Yeah, he's a Hungarian immigrant. He's come to America from Europe during, like, Nazi...
during the Holocaust.
Yeah, during the Holocaust. And he kind of takes up residence with a cousin who's going to find him work building furniture because he's a licensed architect. But he's not allowed to practice that in his home country, despite having some success and
he's
notoriety.
He's a renowned architect back home.
Yeah, so him and his cousin, they're hired to kind of rebuild the library of Guy Pearce by his children.
Yes.
It's like a surprise for Guy Pearce because he's away at the moment.
He's away,
So they do it up in a style that is like very Laszlo in nature. But Guy Pearce comes home early and he's disgusted. And he's like, "What have you done to my house? Who are you? Fuck off!"
Yeah,
basically that.
Yeah.
So Laszlo kind of falls into poverty. He's stuck, digging coal and everything.
Becomes a heroin addict.
Becomes a heroin addict, and he gets kicked out by the cousin because the wife, she does lie, right? He doesn't actually.
She lies, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't actually make a pass at her.
No.
But the cousin thinks he's made a pass at her, so he gets kicked out onto the streets. But then Guy Pearce comes back to him and goes, "Look, I think I may have overreacted a little bit. It turns out this is your renovations are the talk of the town. So I want you
to build me everything.
Build me all the things."
Yeah.
So he kind of strikes up a relationship with Guy Pearce. Yeah. He's commissioned to build this massive centre, and then it's sort of there's drama, kind of
complications ensue.
Yes. And it takes place over quite a period of time as well. Doesn't it? Which it's caught me a little off guard. I didn't think I didn't think it was going to cover that much time.
Well, I think many people watching this will assume it's a true story.
Okay.
I think it's got that ring about it.
Yeah. Is Laszlo at least a real figure?
No.
Oh, he's not. Okay.
None of it's real.
Oh, okay.
I think he's inspired by Hungarian architects, but I don't know if his experience in the film is kind of a fictionalization of that, or whether it's just his style.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's his architectural style is inspired by brutalism, hence the name of the film.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a film about the guy that pioneered brutalism architecture in the West.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah.
It might have been inspired by those guys, but I don't know if if the story is reflective of the real experience.
Okay.
Well, it's an intimidating undertaking going in, isn't it? Not just in patience, but in forming a review. Like, when I went, I was like, oh, God, how am I going to write? How am I going to, for a 3.5 hour film? We can discuss the former, but the latter at least proved not to be a challenge in the end.
Okay.
It was filmed in this division, and the cinematography is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Obviously, it triumphed over Nosferatu, and I won't complain about that.
I would a little bit.
You would? Okay.
Because I think Robert Eggers and the cinematographers he works with, or the cinematographer, I don't know if it's the same one on all those.
Jaron Blaschke, yeah.
It is the same guy. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the two of them are able to get a texture out of film that I don't think anyone else is capable of at the moment.
To me, they're sort of, as long as it was either of those two, I'm not going to say which is better.
Yeah.
But if this was the only other one, had it won, then I would have been happy with that.
Okay.
Because it is a very good looking film.
Yeah.
The texture of it reminded me of Paul Thomas Anderson's films, The Master all shot on film, of course.
Yeah.
It also evoked There Will Be Blood, in its scale and aspirations, certainly, but also they're both about building.
Yeah.
And so they share a technology, measuring wheels, drawing sketches and plans, measured montages of progress. But the Brutalist builds upon, it doesn't drink up.
Yeah.
Like There Will Be Blood.
Have I already mentioned the kind of subtle kind of, I guess, irony of this and Megalopolis basically coming out in the same year.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both like architectural powerhouse films.
But one's good.
But what?
One
Yeah.
isn't.
Yes.
In more ways than one, the film and the character are the inverse of Daniel Plainview. I think. Daniel Plainview was a man that took everything from everyone, and this is a man from whom everything is taken.
Yes.
All the time, you know. I liked its design, the opening credits, the end credits in particular. I don't know what I expected of the aesthetic going in. I suppose capturing the Brutalist style in a very formal way. It's not that, but it's nevertheless handsome. The music too is very good. And it was a mini revelation to me that Tóth's designs were consciously attempting to replicate concentration camps. You get at the end, don't you?
Yeah.
Everyone knows about the Holocaust, of course, the gist. But I don't think we can ever really know how deep it was and is in the people that survived it and their descendants, you know?
Yeah.
In its way, the film ends up being an argument for Israel, as Tóth and his wife face the horror behind the facade of their hosts and what they perceive as the rottenness of America. I'm very slow to condemn America as inherently rotten. I don't think it's true. But recent events have certainly uncovered a dormant strain of anti-Semitism. It's difficult to refute the character's impression, given their context.
Yeah.
Right? Adrian Brody is fantastic. He's 51 in reality, but he seems younger here, initially, in his deference and outsiderness and gratitude. He has a great face for the screen, the camera loves him, and not in the Ryan Gosling way, more in an interesting object way.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't mean it disparagingly, and I think it really was Brody's to lose at the Oscars.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's foolish to compare performances ultimately, but if he hadn't have got it, I think it would have seemed silly in retrospect.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of film. It's that kind of role. If he wants to win a third, all he needs to do is accept parts with the suffix "ist," because that seems to work for him.
Right.
Pianist, brutalist. I'm glad Guy Pearce has been given a substantive role and was recognised for it, you know, in nominations anyway. He does priggish waspiness very well.
He does. Yeah, it works from nicely. And
I think he's aged into the next phase of his career now, where he gets to play different types of characters. You know, he's not like handsome.
Yeah.
He's still a good-looking guy, you know, but he's not a handsome leading man anymore. I hope this is a sign of things to come for him. There's something lurking within that character from the moment we meet him. You're unsure if he and Tóth are destined to become best friends or mortal enemies.
Yes.
There's also an overlap with There Will Be Blood Day about the fraught sort of working relationship between two men, one with money, one without. Felicity Jones is very convincing. She too really seems like she's from somewhere else. Did you get that from her?
Yeah.
The writing's elegant and arresting. The narrative isn't kaleidoscopic or dense as you might expect for a 3.5-hour film. It marches on and stays simple. The nature of the story and the themes and the length lend it a novelistic quality. And it drops in ideas like the prevailing paranoia around Jewish Bolshevism in America without sprouting off new stories to explore them. You know, it is the one story.
Yeah, no, it's Brody's film.
It's Brody's film, yeah, but also it's not encyclopedic and it's all these different stories. No, it's just a long story it wants to tell.
Yeah.
But it is the one story, you know. The dialogue throughout is terrific, but Tóth's answer to why architecture is beautiful poetry that I won't butcher. You know the scene I'm talking about?
Yes, when he's talking to Guy Pearce. Yeah. No, I do, yeah.
I'd have to go back and watch that, but I remember thinking like, oh wow, okay, that was really well written.
Yes.
What's more, the dialogue is tailored to each character. People don't speak the same. They're distinctive, you know?
Yeah.
Amazingly, the Enterprise didn't feel all that indulgent. Perhaps because there's not a lot of artsy navel-gazing and repetition. They get on with things. There are little strands and scenes that could have been excised, but to no significant end. I'm taken in by stories like this. I don't know about you, but that generation of American immigration, post-Holocaust, rags to riches, and frankly things that capture aspects of the Jewish experience. I'm not Jewish, and any outsider that appreciates a culture or people can be labelled a tourist or a fetishist, but there really is something about Jewishness is the only word that fits.
Okay.
To which I'm intellectually and emotionally drawn. There's a scene where Tóth is being politely interrogated by an upscale coterie at a dinner party, and you do wonder, is that how I would come across? But it's easy to overthink such things. It wants to be an American epic. The time is always the teller, but while it orients towards the ineffable, which for me is a necessity in works of great magnitude, I don't think it quite hits those heights. But let me qualify. In our postmodern age, anything that reaches for epic, quote unquote, invites suspicion and derision. The sense that the undertaking is too self-conscious. Because cinema's been around for over 100 years now, what new ground is there to break? You can only be imitating. And that's married to the feeling that every truly great American movie is on some level an accident. And I think we do that because there's a romance and a mythology in stumbling into masterpiece. Whereas working and aiming for it betrays a crudeness and a hubris. It's easy to think that way. But every great movie, American or otherwise, was made by at least one person that wanted to create something great, if not capital G great. because obviously that's never the artist's place to define. All to say, while the runtime asks a lot of you, and it can't help but feel like homework going in, and it's easy to roll your eyes at sincere reaches for excellence, I very much admired the pursuit. Modern epics tend to be tragedies. This is and it isn't. But insofar as it is, what's interesting about the tragic dimension in The Brutalist is that it doesn't proceed from the fatal flaw of its protagonist. Things happen to these people.
Yeah.
They're not weak and without agency, but they are victims. It's a film about trauma. And one could argue that's not the most compelling basis for drama, but it works. Just consult Jewish history.
Yeah.
The film very much captures the dynamic, which has coloured much of that history. One thing you can't call that is undramatic. While it falls short of all-time classic for me, it's still a monumental work in my opinion.
Oh, right, okay.
What did you think?
You were talking there about, that like epics tend to be a tragedy and that there are tragic components to this. It doesn't have a tragic ending, though.
No, that's what I mean. It is and it isn't, because it is about people from whom everything is taken.
Yeah.
And they have to leave America. Like, ultimately, it's like, they don't want us here.
Yeah.
You know, like, no good can come of us staying here.
Yeah. And so I wonder if, like, because sort of the ending line of the film, and I suppose the philosophy is supposed to take away from it.
Yes.
Is, it's contrary to what people say, it is the destination, not the journey.
Yes.
And do you think the film
is real?
Yeah. Do you think that's what the film is kind of trying to say?
I don't think the film is like a pro-Israel. I mean, I think it ends up being that. It's saying like a people go through shit.
Yeah.
Horrendous shit.
This has been a horrible journey, but look at where we ended up.
It's hopeful.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. It is and it isn't, you know, because it's a pretty dire things happen to these characters.
Yes.
There's one scene that like I just didn't feel the need to really say anything about.
Okay.
And I maybe we shouldn't spoil it because it was a massive shock to me when that scene happened.
Is it like when they go to Italy?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It was like, oh, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a need to talk about it, right? Unless there's anything you want to say about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a surprise just because, like...
It is and it isn't.
Okay.
That's what I mean, you know?
Yeah.
I can't really explain more without... Okay, spoiler alert.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. There is a scene where Guy Pearce, decades into their affiliation...
Yes.
Rapes Tóth.
Yes.
I don't think
Tóth is like he's drunk, right?
And he's kind of he's just passed out sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then Guy Pearce sees him and is kind of like, oh, look at you. You wonder why like people hate your people and all that kind of thing. You know, just you drunk yourself into oblivion. You creep basically. Yeah. And then he just takes advantage of him. I don't know if it's so much that he's like closet gay or anything. I don't think it's that. It's just I hate these fucking vermin. I hate these people.
Yeah, no, it feels more of like
it's a power thing.
It's power and
exercising his authority.
Power and punishment rather than a deep-seated.
Yeah, it's not sexual. It's not sexuality. It's
because they do
a war.
They do have a complicated relationship throughout the film. I mean, he's very effusive in his praise of him not at the very beginning when he's telling him to fuck off out of his house, but after that. He kind of realizes, oh, this guy is talented and I can use him.
But then don't you feel like a fragility as well? But like, if he says the wrong thing, maybe.
No, because like there is that wonderful conversation where they're talking about what motivates his architecture and everything. And Guy Pearce says, you know, I find our conversations stimulating, you know, like intellectually and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then there are moments where Guy Pearce does just drop him. Like as soon as it's not convenient for him, it's like, right, get out of my house, get out of my life, your project is over, I never want to see you again. But then he brings him back, and so there is a volatility.
Well, that's the thing I was absolutely volatile is a good word for it. When I was talking about the scene where they invite Tóth to dinner, it's straight from the Doss house basically to this mansion for dinner with these kind of wasps.
Yeah.
And they're all just like, oh, how interesting you are. It's that, you know, they are like you're a freak.
Yes.
You know, like in a zoo.
It's funny because there's a similar sort of scene in A Thousand Blows, isn't there? Where, he's invited to, as part of the heist. Yeah. Hezekiah is invited along to kind of because the woman is like, is kind of infiltrated, so she's brought him along as a date.
Yeah.
And they're aware of his kind of like he's making a name for himself in the boxing scene. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of like tell us about yourself and
your primitive.
It's strange land you come from.
It's the get out thing. It's creepy excessive interest.
Yes,
isn't it?
But obviously it feels a bit more grounded here because it does feel like those people probably are interested in him. Yeah, because they reveal to him that they are also Jewish. In fact, one of them's a convert.
Yes,
but there is also that component of. Yeah, we're kind of like you're new, and I'm you know
novelty.
You're novel, and I want to tell you things.
Going back to There Will Be Blood, like is it Harrison Van Buren? Is that Guy Pearce's name in it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
If he's Daniel Plainview, Adrian Brody is an oil well.
Right.
He's just there to be drained of his resources.
Yes.
But he, at the same time, accuses him of being a parasite, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Do you feel like rape was the right extreme to take that to?
I mean, you could argue it's there for shock value. It didn't feel exploitative because, I mean, it happens, but it's not graphic.
No.
It kind of happens in shadow and it's brief.
Yeah, and the camera kind of hangs back from it. In that scene, we are just like observing it rather than
clinically kind of.
The film wants. I think the film doesn't.
It doesn't want you to enjoy, or not enjoy, but it doesn't want a gratuitous sort of like. Yeah, look at this horrible thing. It's just this is happening now. Yeah. And we're going to keep a respectful distance, but you're going to kind of see it.
Because there are also 2 handjob scenes as well in the film.
Yes, with prosthetic.
It
might not be prosthetic, but certainly you see penis, yes.
But, they both kind of happen, like, out of nowhere. Especially because the first one is, like, within the first 7 minutes.
Yes. It did make me think it would be a different type of
film. So it's like, oh, okay, all right. And I know what they're for, because obviously the first one, he can't... Yes. He's in, like a whorehouse, but he can't get it up for them. Yeah. And then the second time, they're both like right out, because the first one is like right near the beginning of the film, and then the second one is right after the second act starts. Yes. So they make sure to like get those in early. Yeah. But Felicity Jones finally comes back, and she's in a wheelchair. Yeah. Because I think because of the famine, right? So she's kind of like, her body's kind of wasted away a little bit. So she wants to have sex with him, and he's like, I can't do that to you. I don't know what I'm going to do to you. But then she kind of forces herself on him, and it's just, the film seems to, whenever it does depict sexuality.
Well, it's about trauma. Yeah. It's about traumatized people. You can't get it up because he's just escaped the Holocaust in the beginning. Yeah. And then when he sees her, it's like he's going to break her if he does anything. It's like, I can't. Yeah, you're so delicate and fragile. So it's quite hard going. Yes. It really is. But worth it, I think. Okay. Definitely worth the experience. I also like her niece comes over with her, right? Yeah. And she's mute when she originally, and then when we jump, there's a time jump. And she speaks now, and I quite like that it wasn't...
There's no grand moment.
There wasn't like an arc to that, a narrative. Like, no, when she first... And then, she's there for a few years. She can talk now. Yeah. I like that, It does feel very novelly. Okay. It really does. I mean, I recommend it. Yeah. Okay. Would you?
I think it's difficult to recommend to people. Okay. Because of its length, because that's something you need... That obviously people need to... That's going to be a barrier for a lot of people. It was almost a barrier for me. I mean,
it took a while to see this.
Yeah, I wonder if it's one of those films where I may not have gotten around to it were it not for the podcast. And there were moments where it had my attention, and there were moments that it didn't. I'll be honest about that. Weirdly, it's like as soon as the architecture stuff came into it, I was like with it, and then when it became more character focused, I kind of drifted off a little bit. Okay, I don't think that's the film's fault.
No, that's you being Jordan.
Oh, is it? It was totally my fault.
Stuff, not people. It's quite masculine in that sense.
Right. Okay.
Or just misanthropic. It's one of the two.
Okay. But no, did you not, like, when he like, rebuilds the bookcase and he opens it and it all opens up?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Did you not look at that and go, yeah, I like that?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah. I just didn't lose interest when it was just about, like, people.
Okay. Right. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I saw this very, very recently. I've basically just seen it. A few hours ago. Yeah. So it's still kind of, still pickling in my mind, my opinion of it. I do recognise its quality.
Okay. Well, let's just say if you're up for the runtime, we recommend it. Okay. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'd recommend it beyond that, but if we can find some common ground here. Okay. You've got to be up for it's not like, listen, it doesn't matter what the length is, watch it. I might be prone to say that, but I do understand that people's attention spans are non-existent now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I don't think the film is... I wouldn't call it an exhausting film. No. And I think part of that is remedied by... Like, it helps that it's very much a film about Adrian Brody's character. Yeah. As you say, it's not supposed to be this kind of vertical slice of America at that time. It's not... You get an impression of America beyond what the film shows you. But
yes. It's not kaleidoscopic. Like I said, runtimes like this suggest... this plot line, and it's not that.
So there's no moment where the film is like introducing something and you're going,
oh come on.
Yeah. Because you're always kind of with the same cast, you're with the same story. But I mean, I did feel its length at a certain point.
It just asks a lot. Yeah, it asks that you be patient. It does. And we're not trained for that. I'm not saying that judgmentally. I had to sit through it as well. Yes. But, I mean, I don't know about you. Did you take the intermission?
Yeah, I took the intermission.
Yeah, I did as well. I was like, okay, I will abide that because it's obviously there for a reason. Yeah. But okay, so that's the Brutalist.
Okay.
Memoir of a Snail. So this is an Australian adult stop-motion animation.
Australian.
Featuring...
Adult... How do we define this? Not adult as in Adult Swim. Adult, right? That's what you mean by this.
I mean, it's for an adult audience.
Yes.
It's not... I didn't mean by that it's mature. I'm not saying it's immature. Okay. It's for adults. It's not a children's stop-motion film.
Right, okay. It's just because, like, usually when we talk about adult animation...
Oh, yeah, no, it's not...
That's kind of partially my fault.
Yeah,
we're usually talking
you're
about, like, the second best hospital in the galaxy
it's not
and stuff like that.
No, it's for adults, but not because there are dick jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No. We'll get to why it is.
Yes.
It's for adults. It features the principal voice of Sarah Snook.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was her.
I didn't know... No idea.
No.
Absolutely no idea.
Fair play.
Yeah.
It's autobiographical, based on the director Adam Elliott's childhood. It's clearly autobiographical because it's obsessed with detail
Yes.
and idiosyncratic particularities, and it just speeds through events.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Apollo 10.5 in that respect.
Right.
Where a lot of the film is just the character describing their childhood.
That's a good comparison. I mean, I liked Apollo 10.5, 11.5, 10.5. You're right. No, it's 10.5. But yeah, this film is one big montage, really. It's hard to get a hold of anything.
Yeah.
It's grey, grimy, deliberately ugly, adult stop motion. Always impressive when done well, which it is. The aesthetic is well realised. But neither that nor the content were my thing.
Okay.
Adult animation in general is something I find a bit repellent, as you know. But this is caked in dirt and nicotine, and it discusses masturbation, alcoholism, paraplegia, pyromania, kleptomania, self-harm, sterility, and conversion therapy. It's an unpleasant world to occupy for 90 minutes.
Yes.
There are plenty of film fans that will like this. It's that type of film.
Yeah.
It does have heart, but for me, that heart was too encased in rot.
Okay.
Like, all said and done, I just didn't really care.
Okay. It's a difficult film. It's a difficult film to sit through, so it's a difficult film to resonate with, I think.
Yes.
Not to resonate with, because there are relatable components to it.
Yeah.
I think the wisdom that... Because the main character kind of makes a friend at some point during her life. Like this old woman. Makes friends with her.
Yeah.
And then the framing device of the film is that old woman dies.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of... Like, throughout her life, she's collected all of these snails.
Yes.
And so she's kind of recounting her life and her friendship of this woman to a snail.
Yes.
But yeah, the kind of wisdom that woman imparts on the main character when she eventually finds like what that woman has left for her. There's like nuggets of wisdom in there, which I quite liked.
Okay.
That I think some people...
What were those? Remind me.
I think one of them was, it was like the phrase, life only makes sense backwards, but we're forced to live it forwards.
But that's a cliche.
I know, but it's kind of like...
Okay.
I think sometimes you can convey a cliched idea well. Like in a way where it sticks with someone.
Okay.
And just the way that it's phrased.
Yeah, of course.
Like, the way that's phrased.
Yeah, story's the best way to communicate ideas with a story. But isn't it literally just the line?
What do you mean?
That what you just said, life is lived forwards, but we view it backwards, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that line just said?
It is just said.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it's not like something that you dig out of the film.
Yeah. It's just told to you.
It's a line that's said at the end of the film, which does kind of reinforce what you were shown before.
Yeah.
But it's not the type of thing where you wouldn't mind that from the film without it being explicitly stated. And yeah, it's also not a film that I think cares about the medium in which it's presented. No. Like the fact that it's stop motion feels like a means to an end rather than something like Wallace and Gromit, where you can tell they love this, like the medium it's
not that it's like it's not lazy necessarily.
It's not lazy. I just don't think they're doing anything that's designed to test the limits of that medium.
Yeah,
there's no sequence where it's like, oh, we really wanted to do a sequence that like was like visually impressive. It's just telling a story.
I don't know what the inspiration for the style was. I think maybe the director has worked in stop motion before, possibly.
Okay.
It might have been like, oh, there's going to be stuff about children in this that we don't want to cast.
Yeah.
Children. That might be part of it. And then when they realize, okay, we'll do it as an animation, like, oh, considering the bleakness of the story, wouldn't it be cool to do like a grimy stop motion animation?
Yes.
Probably that seems like the logical procession.
Yeah, because it really is like rough claymation.
Yeah,
it's sort of on par with A Grand Day Out. It's that kind of like, it's really rough and kind of like, I think it's like well animated for what it is. I don't think it's as ropey as Grand Day Out, but like the models are kind of on par with primitive stop motion.
Yeah.
And like I said, it doesn't feel like it's a film designed to kind of make the most of that medium. It's just in that medium.
I also don't really think it cares about what you think. Not you in particular.
Okay.
But like, it doesn't endear itself, I don't think, to you. No. It's like, if you're interested in this, it's here, but if not, like, I mean, I'm not going to make any effort.
Oh, it really does feel like a film that is for the person that made it.
Absolutely. Well, it's his story.
I know it's his story, but like, he probably made that. If I was told, like that director made that film for himself, as sort of a therapeutic exercise, and the fact that it's been released is incidental, I totally believe you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, every director should make a film that just they want to see or whatever, but here it really feels like, I don't know, like I wasn't a great fan of it, so I'm not saying like maybe you should have just kept it to yourself. Not in the way we talked about, what was the Mickey Mouse film from last year? Evil Mickey.
Oh, The Mousetrap.
The Mousetrap, yeah. Where we said like, yeah, fun project with friends, well, they should have stayed there. No, I'm not saying, this does have qualities, that,
yes.
you know. But it is also very much like in the first 5 minutes, you know whether you're going to like it or not.
Oh God, yeah.
Because it's vile, really.
Yeah.
And it's not for me. I just don't like stuff like that.
And I think it really is a film that, we were kind of saying, like, The Brutalist, it puts its character through a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not really until the end where, like, they're able to kind of appreciate. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, we got here at the very least.
Yes.
We had to go through all that.
Yes.
But we got here.
Right.
And it's kind of a similar thing where it has a pleasant ending.
Yeah, this is
because some of the
ending.
there's some of the horrible things that happen during the film. It turns out that not all of them happened, and there's also like and then also that character survived those events.
Yeah, you think a character has died that hasn't.
Yeah.
But when I said earlier, like, oh, it's it discusses masturbation, alcoholism, paraplegia, pyromania. That's not just my reeling off its themes. That's kind of how the film proceeds as well.
Yeah.
It is a list of kind of unpleasant. It's a series of unfortunate events.
Yes.
That's what it is. You know, and it was like, oh, I just don't like this.
Okay.
You know, not for like an animated thing. Just not for me.
Okay.
What about you? What was your takeaway in the end?
Yeah, I don't know. I also found it difficult to connect with. But that's the thing. I kind of knew that the film, as you say, it almost didn't care whether I liked it or not. And so I don't necessarily feel like it's a flaw that I didn't connect with it, because that's almost what the film...
No, to me it's kind of like vinegar. Like, I just don't like your vinegar.
Yeah.
But there are people that do.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't really discourage anyone from seeking it out. I think it will appeal to some people.
Yeah.
We are not two of those people.
No, but we recognise that there will be people out there.
Yeah, vinegar's a flavour that people like.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And it would be nice if this film doesn't benefit only the director. If there are people out there, like I said, that are able to kind of see what those little nuggets of wisdom that the film has at the end of that miserable journey.
Yeah.
And go, yeah, that helped me.
Sure.
Or that said something about me that I now know something about myself thanks to this film.
I know somebody that I feel like had adolescent experiences that are kind of depicted in this that might resonate with it.
Okay.
So there are definitely people out there.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's not anything in terms of recommendation. Like, it's totally up to you, I think.
It's up to you.
Not. Yeah.
But it's not a recommendation.
Yeah.
It's just not to our taste.
Okay.
Companion. Explain.
Oh, you son of a bitch. This one
pretty simple set.
That's the thing. This one in particular, more than the other ones that you've thrown at my feet. Because I think last episode when we talked about presents, I said, like, right, how much can I say without spoiling it?
Yeah.
This one really is like, I really don't know how much I can give away here.
Give it away.
Give it away?
Give it away, yeah. I mean, I'm going to jump straight into that.
Okay, so. I'll give it away now then. But no, I will say...
Go on.
No, do a little louder. Why not? Go on.
I don't know the words.
Okay.
Go on.
All right. Yeah, the whole thing's a spoiler.
Yes.
This whole review is a spoiler, and...
Let's jump to the fact that we recommend it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you can watch the film knowing what the spoiler is, but it would be so much nicer if you didn't. You did.
I did, and I can still recommend it.
Okay.
So just...
I didn't.
Yeah.
And I think I figured it out a little earlier than the film wanted me to, but that's partially because you said,
"Okay,
do you know what it's about?" And I said no, and you went, "Oh, I won't say that."
I suggested there was something to figure out.
Yeah, so we might have already kind of like led people on a path where they're going to figure it out too early.
There's only so much we can do. I mean, I listened to Kermo's review of it, and if I didn't know before that, he would have told me whilst trying not to spoil it.
Okay.
So it's a pretty hard one not to spoil. Yeah.
So I would say if you're able to watch this film without it being spoiled for you, I would absolutely recommend that. But for everyone else, this film is about there's these two characters. They meet like in the first scene. It's Jack Quaid and
Sophie Thatcher.
Thank you. They have this like picturesque, wonderful meet cute in a supermarket. The film then shows the two of them going to this house. Jack Quaid's friends are there. They're going to spend a weekend away there with the friends. But she's a bit like, they don't like me. And he's like, but it's all right. It'll be okay.
I want to make an impression.
Yeah, exactly. So she goes there, and the friends are kind of off with her. But it's like a party, and we're all trying to get along. Yes. She's trying to make a good impression. And
You're really holding on.
well,
you can see the clutch.
Yeah. You find out...
At the end of the first act.
At the end of the first act, you find out that the reason that the friends don't resonate with her that much is because...
Ellipsis. Longer ellipsis. Go on.
She's a robot.
Yes.
Basically. She is like a sex robot, right?
Yeah. A companion robot.
A companion robot. Yeah. I mean, like, they're designed...
It's designed to be a girlfriend, but of course, functionally for a lot of people, they're just going to be sex dolls.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like... It's sort of the next step on the journey from...
Oh, it's coming. It is coming.
Yeah, well, certainly in real life, but also like the film Her, where he just kind of falls in love with the user interface. Like the voice of the...
Siri.
Yeah, Siri.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the next step on from that, where it's like...
Siri with a body.
Siri with a body, yeah. You find out that she's a robot. And the purpose of the weekend is there's a guy that owns the house that they're staying in.
A sleazy Russian
guy that has amassed his fortune under vague circumstances, at least vague in the beginning.
Yes.
And they want the robot to kill him so they can steal all of his money.
Yes.
But that goes wrong.
Yeah.
Because
like a flaw in the programming kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. She does kill him.
Yes.
But then she escapes.
Yes.
And you find out quickly that... And this is one of the things I liked about it, because I liked a lot about it.
Me too.
But one of the things I did like about it, again, kind of following on from Vengeance Most Foul, where this is a film about like robots and AI, where it doesn't totally condemn the AI.
No, it doesn't.
Because...
And that was kind of a struggle for me, actually.
Okay.
I'll come to that, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the fact that like she killed him and everything, it's not like... And the fact that she goes rogue, it's not like she's so traumatized by the way they treated her that her programming broke. They've modded her.
Yes.
They've like removed the part of her programming that stops her from harming people.
Yes, that Asimov's or like law of robotics. Or
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So had there not been this kind of like human intervention, she wouldn't have been able to carry out the plan.
No.
It's their fault that she's now capable of killing people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that she's sort of becoming sentient off the back of that.
Yes.
Or self-aware, I should say, because she is kind of...
Yeah. She doesn't know what she is, but other than that, she
is a person.
She's
I mean, the
basically
film,
a person.
like, the film is able to convince you until it tells you otherwise that she is a person.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So, the twist that she's a robot comes at the end of Act 1. I get why critics have danced around it, but it's so there. Yeah. I thought it, and they don't try particularly hard to hide the ball. So, for me... So they go there in a self-driving car. Okay. Which to me, that was like, okay, this is somewhat in the future.
Yeah, but I think they cleverly try to hide... Like, they do speak to the car after they enter the journey, but apart from...
Also, he's not driving it.
Well, that's the thing. Apart from when she initially wakes up and you see that he's on his phone, the camera is kind of just above the steering wheel, so it's almost like it's trying to hide the fact that it's self-driving.
Yes, but I picked up on that. I was like, okay, so the film's telling me kind of, it's not quite now.
Yeah. And also, the film is set in the forest in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
so it doesn't have to show you like what a city looks like now or anything like that.
Josh calls it beep boop.
That's ridiculous.
That to me was like, oh, it's a robot. Okay, because I knew there was a mystery to it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that's what that is.
Okay, but that's absurd. Like, because I don't think you're supposed to tell them that they're companion robots.
No. It's like telling someone who's having a psychotic break that they're having one.
Yeah, exactly. But why would you call your robot beep boop?
Yeah, I don't know. Like nose, like beep. I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's a justification for it.
Okay.
But there's the title itself, obviously, which to me, it kind of, there's a whiff of, like, oh, human companion. That sort of thing. Not to mention the poster, where her eyes are just whited out.
I'm disappointed when you told me that.
Yeah.
Because I think the trailer does a pretty good job of disguising the fact that she's...
around it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is Sophie Thatcher's A-list moment.
Okay.
Right? I think I said when we saw Heretic, like, keep your eye out.
Yeah.
Jack Quaid plays a creep very well.
He does.
And Rupert Friend is a magnificently sleazy Russian.
Yes.
There's the theme of women being treated as accessories, but explored sensibly. Jack Quaid's Josh is a loser. And God, I rue the day when this is a thing. And yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
But she is a robot, right? So you shouldn't treat humans that way.
No.
That's definitely true. And I suppose an adult that spent all day using Grand Theft Auto to purely butcher pedestrians would be worthy of some suspicion and contempt.
Right.
But she's not a person. This is what I take into an AI kind of thing, right? It's a complicated business, the AI thing. And it's staggeringly rare that I'll root for a robot. This is what I was alluding to. But by the end of this, everyone real is so horrible.
Yeah.
You go, enjoy yourself, love.
Yeah.
Might as well. So that was kind of it. She did win me over.
Okay.
There is a second twist.
There is. And I didn't get that. So that's good.
And I didn't predict that.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was there, because if the central premise was meant to be disguised, there was still a surprise for me.
Yes.
Right? When I saw Patrick and Eli together, so the two other friends staying at this house, played by Lucas Gage and Harvey Guillen, respectively, I did think, bullshit.
Right.
So I should have guessed that Patrick was a robot too.
Yeah.
But then you never know, because people pretend in cinema and TV and life to some extent that leagues aren't a real thing. But I call bullshit on that relationship.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Knowing very little going in, other than it being a sci-fi thriller, the main surprise to me was that it was also a dark comedy.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think Ex Machina is broadly the nearest bedfellow to this film, but that film wasn't rich with humour.
No.
This is.
I mean, this film doesn't have Oscar Isaac dancing.
It doesn't, no. But Ex Machina is a film that takes itself very seriously.
Yes.
And, I mean, this does, but also it's very funny. Like, as he tries to kill Iris, Eli refers to himself as an ally.
Yes.
No, look, I'm an ally and everything, but come on,
Yeah.
The characters and tone to some extent are pretty millennial, but not in an annoying way.
No.
There are loads of neat little ideas, so like Iris having to quickly find the right tone of voice to activate the car.
Yeah.
She can't lie, so she changes her language to German. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Reprogramming Patrick to be in love with Josh. Josh not reading the user agreement, because of course he didn't.
Yes.
It's a very tight, clever script.
Well, that's what's really nice about it. It feels like a film where they really, really thought about it.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
It's one of those films you go, oh, how would she react if she came into contact with another robot that wasn't sentient yet?
Yes.
Oh, let's just do that.
Yeah.
How would she react if she got a hold of her own user settings?
Yes.
Let's do that.
Right.
All of the questions you could ask about what would happen in this situation, the film addresses that directly.
It is a short, smart, effective genre piece.
Yeah.
Definitely. Very clever. There's one small leap in logic, which is that Patrick remembers Eli, but I think that's the film's gesture towards emergent sentience.
Okay.
So that was my one allowance. Do you know what I mean? You're allowed the one.
Yeah.
And because Patrick's reprogrammed to be in love with Josh, but then she basically talks him into remembering Eli.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't buy that. But if what we're doing here is approaching complete self-awareness, then fine.
Yeah.
So Goo Goo Dolls' Iris plays in one scene.
It does.
Josh is listening to it when she's delivered to him, right? And I read an article where the writer-director, Drew Hancock, broke down that choice. He said it worked on 3 levels. 1, it's her name. 2, is that why he decided to call her Iris? Because it was playing when she arrived, And 3, that song was written for City of Angels, which is a film starring Jack Quaid's mother, Meg Ryan.
Oh, okay.
Right? But honestly, before the song title Iris rose to conscious thought, I just thought Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, yeah.
That's how she's conceived.
Yeah.
Imagine, a Goo Goo doll.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised you didn't mention that. All told, I think Iris would have perhaps been a better title for the film. There are plenty of other films called Iris, so I get going elsewhere. But if you really wanted to shield the premise, I think that would have helped, I like this a lot. I think internationally it's the first really good film of the year.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, obviously we liked Presence.
Yes. Well, to be fair, yeah. So again, with the scheduling, I saw Presence after Companion.
Oh, right, okay.
But they're both the first really good films.
I think that Presence had more of an emotional impact on me. But this is by far a stronger film.
Absolutely. It's tight.
Yeah.
It's a great script.
Yeah, and I could more easily go back to this because it's fun.
Yes.
On top of all of the interesting things it has to say about not just AI, but
there are certain
relationships
films,
and power dynamics and everything.
Yeah, there are certain films I watched that obviously we'll talk about on the podcast, but I would recommend to you anyway. Then there's Eddie, formerly of this parish, that I'll go, you should watch this. If that list also includes My Mother and Father.
Yeah.
That's a well-rounded, good film. I'm not saying The Zone of Interest, which I thought was a masterpiece, is not something I'm going to sit down and watch with either parent. But then there are films like this, The Good Wife of films, where it's everyone's going to like this.
Yeah.
There's something for everyone here, So yeah, I recommend it very highly.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that, because so far, the good films of the year have both been, horror. I know this has dark comedy components to it, too.
Yeah.
But if you were to kind of... if you were to give it a base genre in terms of what conventions it's pulling from, you'd start with horror.
I'd say thriller more than horror, but yes, I see what you're saying. Thriller and the horror, close to the horror mold, because you've got the cabin in the woods kind of thing as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm hoping that that'll kind of that's a good sign in terms of like the horror might be.
Well, horror is having its time, really.
Yeah, but that'll kind of continue into this year because we've got the It Follows sequel. I think it's due this year. What was the film? Like I saw it, like Good Boy. I think that might be coming out this year.
Good Boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Megan 2.0 or whatever.
Megan 2.0, so maybe not that, all of it.
Yeah.
But no,
Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare.
Absolutely, yeah. But no, it's just like those are two films that came out in very close proximity that have some relationship to horror.
Okay, I see what you're doing.
I'm not trying to find a pattern. I'm just saying.
No, not trying to pattern. Okay, I just imagined you were like, and then we're going to jump into our next reviews.
Oh, there's also that.
And you're going to be like, okay, maybe I was wrong about that, about the state of horror.
But I mean, they both feel like they found like new and interesting angles on like well-worn ideas.
Yeah, robot like AI thing is like just saying that to me doesn't inspire much confidence. Like, yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
But this did do something different.
It absolutely did, yeah. And then obviously there was like the point of view perspective of the ghost from Peasants as well. So both of them are just like, oh, good. It's like people are
little spins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like horror. Like that seems to be where a lot of the creativity in the industry is being funneled at the moment, is into horror.
Yeah. So we recommend it. And then there's the other thing.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Piglet and Mouse of Horrors.
Yeah.
They're two separate films.
They are.
One's called Piglet, one's called Mouse of Horrors. So I'm going to speak about both broadly.
Why?
Because they're the same thing, Jordan.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons. And then we'll go into the specificities of each film.
Okay.
Film.
Ooh.
But let's just start.
No, we got a new record on the bitterness.
I don't think I can say anything about either of these without instantly giving it away, right?
Yeah.
So, to start broadly, we didn't know about these films until the day we watched them.
No.
Odds are you wouldn't have encountered them. So, trust me, the ethics of bringing this to your attention were discussed.
Like, ethics is the word you chose.
Yeah.
It's like, is that like wise? Like,
should we do this?
Are we allowed to do that?
Ultimately, we've decided to do it for reasons that should hopefully become clear, as well as the reasons for grouping them together. These are two more entries in the IP on You movement.
Yeah.
Heretofore exemplified by the Pooniverse. Now, the Blood and Honey franchise... I couldn't get through that. Pooniverse.
It's just IP on You and then Pooniverse in such close proximity.
Now
this has driven us mad already.
Yeah, I
just
know.
the thought of having to talk about
this is what I was like when Mouse of Horror started. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the Blood and Honey franchise are the AAA titles in this trend, right? Some digging turned out there are legions of these films, most of them in development awaiting release. We actually can't keep track of them, right?
Well, I don't know if that was ever like explicitly our intention.
No. I think you saw Piglet, right? Piglet had been put online and you were like, what's this?
Yeah.
Like, it looks like another one of those films. So then we kind of did a little bit of digging and it just turns out there's dozens of them.
Yeah, like way too much where... Because, like I said, it wasn't ever explicitly our intention to kind of like keep track of them all. But we were aware that this was a recent movement in film.
Listen, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, is like those films are in cinemas. Like, we will talk about those. Same with Neverland Nightmare. And then The Mousetrap was like, oh, that's the other side of the pond doing it. And it with a different character. So let's have a look at that. But that was a film that also we were like, should we even talk about this? These are even lower than that, I would say.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone's going to even hear about these things. But there is a reason, because I feel like I want these reviews to be definitive. It's going to kind of say everything about these films.
Okay.
So we never have to do it again, basically, other than for the more tentpole releases.
Yeah.
But yes, these films are multiplying like rancid rabbits. In earlier days, these things would be churned out quickly to deadline, to budget, to fill Tesco's DVD shelves, usually ripping off current mainstream releases, capitalizing on the possibility of someone making a mistake and buying it. That was the angle.
Yeah.
These days, they'll just go straight online, right? Most of them, these films, can be traced back to ITN Studios, which is an American company whose website claims they produce high-quality genre films. Exactly.
Yeah.
that they work with production teams all over the world. Essentially, you can make your film, submit it to them, and then they might distribute it. It's unclear how much is commissioned, quote unquote. They pump out dozens a year. They've been going since around 2018, but in the wake of the public domain trend, they focused heavily on exploiting that.
Yes. Most
of these high-quality genre films are British, like the two we have for you today. Important question. Are we punching down? No. We are at the bottom.
Yeah.
Another important question. Is there a utility to films like this? In theory, yes. Now, Roger Corman, we've spoken about him before, was the granddaddy producer of low-budget B-movie exploitation schlock. He used it as a training ground for budding auteurs. So you'd say, like, your film needs a scene in a strip club, a car chase, it's got to be 75 minutes long, stuff like that. It was material for aspiring filmmakers to cut their teeth on. Out of that cradle came Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, James Cameron, Peter Bogdanovich, Jonathan Demme, and Ron Howard, not to mention Jack Nicholson. Roger Corman basically birthed New Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, if in years to come I'm proven wrong, then colour me stupid, but it requires a degree of charity and imagination of which I am bereft to see anyone working on these films going on to greater things.
Yeah.
I've said it before, limitation can be generative. With a sharp mind, it often is. Poor production values can be excused on this level. We don't expect Nolan. What we do expect is campy fun, being clever with what you have, a script with some wit. Now, there's a chap named Harry Boxley, who bizarrely seems to have had a former life as a bit parter in American sitcoms.
Okay.
I don't know what that's about.
Is it the same Harry Boxley?
It's the same guy,
okay.
Yeah. He's the go-to scribe for these films. He's penned at least 25 so far, all within the space of 3 years. The way this is possible is by recycling the scripts, change the character names and scene headings and wallop. Once again, the quality of these productions is an argument for gatekeeping. Not only were the first of these films lazy and boring, they are now spawning clones. All ostensible slasher films featuring blokes in masks that are meant to be animal-human hybrids, experimented on by mad doctors with a recurring Bride of Frankenstein motif. Both Piglet and Mouse of Horrors, and the others, are characterised by ambiguous settings. It's clearly the UK. We know these to be UK productions, but they're populated with uncomfortable melting pots, cynically concocted to penetrate the international market. There are always Americans. One assumes Brits appropriating American accents.
The thing. There are never Americans, but they're pretending as though they are American.
But maybe ITN rents out a couple of Americans.
It's weird, isn't it? Because like usually it's the other way around. People complain about Americans doing shitty British accents.
Yes.
Somehow we've discovered the inverse of that.
The inverse, absolutely. The dialogue across the board is hideous, tin-eared and repetitive. There are no attempts to tie the films to the original properties. Blood and Honey was tenuous and superficial, but at least it nominally had Tigger and Owl and Christopher Robin. These have nothing.
Yeah.
The kills are boring with atrocious CG blood. The sound mix is paltry, but to varying extents. The killers are always presaged by urban legends or local history. There are always characters implied to have some significance, like autistic drawing girl and Piglet, that never do. They're not about anything. Many of the actors in both films, and more, were ravers in Blood and Honey 2, in that rave scene.
Yeah.
That party is like the first Sex Pistols gig, right? Which was attended by Morrissey, Bernard Sumner and Peter Hook of Joy Division, Marky Smith of The Fall, John Cooper Clarke and Tony Wilson, who established Factory Records. This nexus of talent, but here of shit. To nitpick everything about both films is to talk for longer than the actual runtimes. So believe it or not, in the following reviews, things are being left out.
Yeah.
So first, Piglet.
Okay.
So the sound mixing was poor, but we could basically hear what the characters were saying, right, for most of the film.
Yeah.
If you listen on headphones, the dialogue only comes out the left ear.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. The mix drowns it out at points, which wasn't the case on the TV. The score, which sometimes has a weird Matrix-adjacent electronic component, often just cuts out arbitrarily.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in a jacuzzi where the sound appears to have fallen into a vacuum.
That was uncomfortable to watch. And it really shows the power of Foley, doesn't it? Because
absolutely.
They're in a jacuzzi. These two women in a jacuzzi who I think they end up making out.
Yeah.
Because that's what you got to have. If you've got two women who are in a state of undress, you got to have them making out in films like this because that's what the people want. Or it's what the filmmakers want anyway.
Well, let's not pretend. It wasn't titillating because it's Piglet, but I'm not going to complain about young, attractive women making out in jacuzzis.
No, of course not. But there is, and I mean this genuinely, you cannot hear the water.
No.
It's not turned down. It is totally absent.
Yeah. It's like it's a scene in the film where like a loud gunshot goes off and the character has that like, you know, it's that high-pitched drone that then becomes deafness.
No, yeah, the silence in this is deafening because you can see the water being displaced.
Bubbling.
And bubbling.
Yeah.
But you can't hear it.
No.
And there's no replacement sound for it at all. It is just two women in a jacuzzi sloshing water around that is totally silent.
Yeah.
And it's the creepiest thing. It was the most unnerving thing about the film. Yeah.
Well, the editing was undistracting. I would say that gives it half a star.
Yeah, I think I can't really remember. I'll be honest.
Yeah, no, it was a while ago now.
Blood and Honey. Well, no, I mean in terms of Blood and Honey films, I think they were competently edited for what they were.
Basically,
yeah.
You don't notice it really.
Yeah,
and it's the same here. And like we got to be fair, right? And like just basic competence on some level somewhere, you get your half a star.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And to me, because the editing I found perfectly fine.
Yeah, perfectly functional.
Yeah. So that you got your half a star. Okay.
Yeah. The only reason we're bringing it up is because everything else is so bad by comparison.
Absolutely, yeah. We're looking for something here.
Yeah, if this was any other film, Truffle Pig. Sorry, I talked over that. That's but that should be highlighted. You wouldn't even bring it up. That's how unnoticeable the editing is.
Yeah,
but it's because it's the only like vaguely as close to a compliment as we can give this film.
Yeah, it's probably because they did all the thing and then gave it to an editor.
Yeah,
you know, the opening scene, it's an exposition scene, goes on and on and on. A prison guard explains to another the backstory of their prisoner, as the driver of the truck has the longest piss of all time.
Yeah.
They employ a Wilhelm scream, even as the actual actor is screaming.
Yeah.
The other guard has a gun, which he inexplicably just decides not to use. We are again presented with 5 pulchritudinous, uncharismatic young women going to stay in a cabin. The group is peopled by an uncanny mix of vaguely European, perhaps Dutch, perhaps Polish, perhaps Ukrainian, and American, the former of which frequently dip into broken English, but it's hard to know whether that's them or the script. There is one Brit. There are also, 2 lesbian blondes. We clued into the villainous undertaking instantly. We know who they are, what they're doing. It doesn't make sense, but we know.
Yeah.
Ridding the film of any sense of discovery. Even if the turns in these slashes are predictable, at least they're half-assed attempts at surprising the audience. We think this guy is sound, but he turns out to be working with a villain. They sort of do that in the final act, but it's totally powerless because it's a completely incidental character that we've seen for like 20 seconds. Piglet aside, there is a villain named Mr. Hogg, portrayed by a definitely gay man. Not to risk slander, I don't know if he's gay, but he's gay. But that's incidental. The problem is that he's incredibly irritating. He aims for camp, sinister theatricality, but instead hits annoying cunt. The fact that they don't unanimously loathe him from the off or are creeped out by him is ludicrous.
Yeah, because a few of them are like, oh, come on, guys, he's all right, really.
He's all right.
He's literally like leering over them.
Yeah.
What are you doing, girls?
What are you doing, girls?
Yeah. It's like, oh, he's all right. No, he's not.
No, he's not. There's even more annoying arbiter character, that they ignore without explanation. And I don't mean they're unsettled, but resolve to continue and fail to heed the warning. I mean they literally just ignore him.
Yeah.
He's there and they just ignore him. When he shows up again, he ascribes his failure to outright tell them what was going on to his being, quote, not very good at expressing himself. Which I think is the contrivance to end all contrivances.
Yeah. I mean, even a socially awkward person could summon the courage to go, there's a
serial killer.
Serial killer. You did it in 2 words.
That's it.
Yeah.
Serial killer. Yeah.
Pig serial killer. If you want to be a bit more, give a bit more information. Pig serial killer.
Pig serial killer. Then we won't go there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the UK, so there's a British type forest and British plates on the cars, but there are boars and bears. Admittedly, a possible nod to poo. That fucking word, man. Hogarth wears a cowboy hat. Blood and Honey had out of place redneck characters too. This is a thing with these films.
Yeah.
There's a tattooed girl in this hired for her tits. She give me porn, not star, but performer vibes.
Yeah.
These films were often lurid and leering, but it nevertheless felt puerile. The girls play Ring of Fire and chant We Like to Drink with Katie, which lends proceedings the foul redolence of having been written by a young person. In that same scene, one of the girls starts telling a story about the pig man. Now, how many 20-year-olds do you know that just stop to listen to a story? A story in which she claims that Piglet was beaten by his mother and father and rejected by his family, and affectionately called the Piglet. Now, this is an element of decilification, which is laughable in this context to begin with. but also representative of the general misunderstanding of language.
Yeah.
They beat him. He had the affectionate nickname, the Piglet. Where was the affection?
Yeah. No.
You'd think it was written by a non-native speaker. The term son of a bitch is also employed more than once, which British people don't really use. I think he's British, the writer. And then we arrive at the most galling set piece. They replicate the family dinner scene from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I think this was... I think you started like shouting at this film at this point.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, that did something to me.
What was the thing you said to me? It's like, right, this is the worst film of the year, Jord. If I ever doubt that for a second, remind me of this scene.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, so they kind of kidnap the main girl and she wakes up into the dinner scene. Now, the original scene is one of the most disturbing sequences ever committed to film.
Yeah.
How dare they? It's not just the audacity of raising its spectre, right?
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw was released in the context of Watergate and Vietnam, where people saw depictions of violence in media and news they hadn't seen before. And it's wed to that history, all the while remaining very, very restrained on the blood.
Well, that's the thing. There are other... I mean, this is not the first thing that's ever referenced that scene.
Resident Evil.
Well, I was going to say, Resident Evil did that scene, but kind of put it in its own context as well. So it's not as if... that you can't touch the original.
I'm not precious about it in that way.
Yeah.
No, but you have to understand what its power is.
Yeah.
You know?
And they clearly don't. And I think that's part of the problem is, like, they know enough about cinema to know what that sequence is and how to, at the very least, like, evoke it.
Yeah.
But I think it shows how cinema deaf the people behind this are. Not just, like, how poorly it, like does that sequence. But the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, how much money was it made for? Like, nothing, right?
Yeah.
Micro-budget film.
Absolutely.
I think even if you adjust it for inflation, you're talking... And this might not be a perfectly accurate figure. I think you're talking $500,000 in today's money.
Yeah.
For Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The first Blood and Honey film made $7 million?
Yeah.
You can make 14 Texas Chainsaw Massacres with the money they've raised from that film alone.
Yeah.
And this film, which was probably made on significantly less than that.
Yeah.
Just, like, it can't do it. And it just goes to show, like, that was made in the 70s. I know it was, like, a different world.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was made on the down low.
Yeah.
And they probably, like, stole a lot of shots rather than getting permission and everything like that. But that's what you do at this level of filmmaking anyway.
Yeah, if you're a grunge guerrilla filmmaker, that's what you do. You steal your film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not encouraging that, like, that was from the 70s. This is from the 20s.
Well, because it feels like that world is sort of gone. Like, there aren't many people doing that kind of thing. But also, films like Texas Chainsaw, and then even films like I Spit in Your Grave or Last House on the Left, you know, Roger Ebert called I Spit in Your Grave, I think, the worst film ever made. Right? Now, like, and the reception of these films nowadays is kind of, it's very divided. Like, there are some feminist scholars or whatever that think I Spit in Your Grave is a feminist parable, others that think it's misogynist trash. It inspires those kind of conversations. And but everyone acknowledges at least that they have an important place in the lineage of horror.
Yeah.
Because they were part of the video nasty trend. And people that hated those films were arguing for them in court, saying it has to be released uncensored.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. Important milestone in horror history. And whatever you think of those films, the filmmakers, they have talked about their philosophy for it. The fact Texas Chainsaw was in the wake of Watergate and media depictions of violence in Vietnam. That I Spit in Your Grave was like an attempt at a feminist parable. That there were shots in it that were attempting to capture Renaissance paintings. Like, they might be trash, but at least there was a vision and a philosophy for it.
Yeah.
Can you say there's a philosophy for these films?
No.
You can't. It's a galling suggestion.
Yeah.
That anyone like, oh yeah, because my point was to blah, blah, blah. No. There's no point.
No, there is a point. The point is, let's do the Texas Chainsaw scene.
Right, yeah, and money. That's what the
and
point
also
is.
Money, yeah. But they must know that, like, because as you said, this film, we had to find this.
Yeah.
We weren't even looking for it. We found it on accident. It was a happy accident. So
it was a what?
I mean, yeah, it was a miserable experience.
Okay.
But that's the thing. Like, these films, they're not making money. They can't be making money. No one knows about them.
No. But you make them on such a low budget, you don't have to get that many viewers. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. But the thing with Texas Chainsaw, right, is, it was very restrained on the blood. There's barely any in the film. There really is. Your memory might put it there, but it's not, right? The balls of this gore fest a shit gore fest,
Yes.
but an intended gore fest to steal it. Texas Chainsaw is also famously a film that transcends explanation. It's totally inexplicable what's going on in that film. Here, they use the most iconic scene from that film as a delivery mechanism for exposition.
Yeah.
Which, for me, was the ultimate turd on the legacy. They might like it, but they do not understand it.
No.
You know? As you might expect, they learned all the wrong lessons. Not that you can create an acute feeling of horror and terror and dread with sound and editing and camera work and close-ups without gruesomeness, without gratuitousness. No, they took chainsaw.
Well, I mean, in fairness, all of those things, all of those techniques that Texas Chainsaw uses to, like you said, create that sense of horror requires a skill that these people are clearly bereft of.
Absolutely. These IP on you joints are so bland and characterless and uninventive. The scene, which was filmed partly to replicate the POV of the original, sticks out like a sore thumb because suddenly there's the whiff of personality.
Yeah.
But it's pilfered personality. It's someone else's personality.
Yeah.
You know? That's kind of all I got to say about Piglet.
Okay.
Ready for Mouse of Horrors?
Well, this is... Yeah, so we watched Piglet.
Yeah, we did.
And you, like, shouted at me.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is the worst film of the year.
Yeah.
Make sure I remember that.
Yeah.
And the very next thing we did was watch Mouse of Horrors.
Yeah.
Which might be the actual worst film of the year.
Well, this doesn't get half a star.
No.
It doesn't even get that. So, this is Mickey Mouse and Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, and I think this is why we watched it, because this is the first time. The first time where, it feels like they're actually... like combining those universes now. It's not just, let's do a shit Mickey Mouse film. It's like, no, let's...
Yeah, that's it.
That's the selling point, isn't it? So it's a Mickey Mouse versus Winnie the Pooh film.
And this is what was it like, if there are milestones, if you like, in this movement, we'll kind of do those.
Yeah.
If we have to, you know what I mean? We will. But it's just like, okay, right, we'll watch one more of these to see what that's like. And then we'll see a team-up film. And then hopefully we don't have to watch any of the other ones, you know? They use the same mask for Pooh, don't they?
As in Blood and Honey.
As in Blood and Honey.
The first Blood and Honey.
Yeah.
Which the second film itself shunned.
Shunned as a,
it's a shit film in this universe. It's not actually how the events took place. But it is literally the same mask.
Literally the same mask.
And that's what's so confusing about it.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think they refer to him as Winnie the Pooh in the film.
No, and they never use the name Mickey.
No.
Because Steamboat Willie has gone to public domain, not Mickey Mouse, you know?
Yeah.
Dispiritingly, bleakly, soul-crushingly, much of this was filmed in North Wales. And lest we forget, we are reminded by the multitudes of Welsh flags planted across the funfair. Yeah, this is set in a funfair.
Yeah.
Once again, we have Americans. The opening scene features two girls affecting Valley Girl accents. I don't mean the valleys, I mean the valleys. As they stroll across the harbour in Conwy County. We have long opening credits, which is the last thing an 80-minute B-movie needs. The editing is terrible and the sound is worse. The footstep foley is particularly grating. You legitimately can't hear what they're saying for large parts of the film, and somehow it's even worse on headphones.
It's funny because I think the subtitle track that we had for the film, there were multiple points where it just went...
give
I have no idea what they're saying, mate. Yeah.
Once again, the music and audio cut out at will. Like the Mousetrap, there's an epidemic of tube lights. At one point, someone gets the answer phone, and the automated voicemail has an American voice. The prosthetics are clearly just resting on the performers' faces.
Yeah.
The lead is dull, 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 dull. Now, I haven't named the people involved in these films because I'm trying to cut them some slack, right? But I will name the face behind the Mickey mask.
Okay.
Lewis Santa is his name. I hope you're listening. He previously played Tigger in Blood and Honey 2. Here, he does an Arthur Fleck dancing about like a twat shtick. Constantly advancing towards people in a way that's meant to be menacing, but is in fact wanker.
Yeah.
It's interminable. He's infuriating. There's a scene where he dances in the mirror to classical music, and I actually felt embarrassed. I bet Lewis Santa is a prick.
And it'd be a shame, wouldn't it, if that was... I almost laughed then, because I was going to say it'd be a shame if those were the director's instructions. Exactly, for that reason. But that's the thing, you just have to assume that whatever people are doing in this film, it's their decision and their decision alone. Because it doesn't feel like there's any...
No.
This ship is being guided in any way.
Oh, no. I mean, literally, there's a ship. Well, boat in a way. But I mean, like, he's probably been told, oh, be menacing, because you're Mickey Mouse, you're kind of, it's happy and clowny.
Yeah.
So kind of dance when you walk towards him. But he's just doing that all the time then.
Yeah.
You know? Then we have the kind of arch villain, whose name, the actor, I won't say, because there is a tragedy to older people still trying to make it, even if they're abysmal.
Yeah.
And he is. His line delivery is awful. The first scene with him lasts an eternity, as he just keeps repeating the same fucking thing.
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
I know.
Because, it's. I think it's the first time we meet the Winnie the Pooh character as well.
And him, together.
It's the two of them, because I think at that point you've only seen Mickey, but then suddenly it's Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse, both in this kind of like warehouse unit.
Yes.
And he's like having a go at them.
Yeah.
He's like, you never bring me... Oh no, he's having a go at Mickey, isn't he? He's like, Mickey, you never bring me the right parts. The bear...
Yeah, you gotta just bring me the right parts.
The bear brings me the right parts.
Yeah.
In fact, let's have a competition. Both of you go out and find me the best body parts.
And then he leaves.
And then he walks out of the room.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and goes, and another thing. And he just repeats.
And he repeats it. He just says the same thing.
Yeah, and then he goes to leave again, and he comes back again and repeats like part of it. It's like, fucking hell.
It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
And on. The character's name, by the way, which you might not have heard, is Dr. Rupert Mouse.
I don't think I did hear that. No.
My note for him is honestly... Now, it's somewhat understandable if you're dropping these things with the regularity of a digestive cycle, but Harry Boxley, and another writer, this took two of them, doesn't even have the courtesy of remembering the logic implied by the last scene he wrote.
Yeah.
So yeah, in their first scene, Dr. Mouse compliments the bear for bringing him the right catch. In the next, he lambasts him for never finding the right ones. He tells both of them to bring him bodies, I quote, "It doesn't matter who they belong to, as long as they're perfect," which I'm confident doesn't work definitionally. He directs them to the funfair, quote, "if you must." But the whole point is, our central characters are there when they're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
One of them works there and is getting the others in at night.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. This is, even though a lot of it takes place during, like, well, I think
they go
some
there
of it
like
takes place
evening.
during the day. Yeah.
It's meant to be the evening, but it's
it's
day.
clearly the middle of the day. Yeah, it's not like this is a populated funfair or something.
No, it's the night. No one's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And there's no reason that these characters would know the other characters are there.
No.
She's like, go to the harbour, go to the blah blah, and the funfair if you must. It's like, okay. Later on, Mickey cuts out a girl's eyes and eats them.
Yeah.
Defeating the purpose of the Enterprise altogether.
Oh, absolutely.
Of getting body parts. Besides, one would have made the point.
Well, that's what's so ridiculous is, he eats one eye.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, she's forced to watch.
Right.
But then he eats the other eye. And that feels like it's just...
But it's like, oh, gnarly, you're going to watch this creature cut out a girl's eye. And, okay, oh, that's horrible. But then they just do it again.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing again. It's like, right. I mean, unless you were making a point about, like, desensitize it, which they're not.
No.
They're absolutely not. Then it seemed a bit silly.
Yeah.
In our first scene with our heroine and her father, in the space of 2 minutes, he comforts her when she's sad about leaving for America, assuring her that she's going to be successful. He then immediately pleads with her to go to a British university because America's just too far away. This isn't complex, layered human emotion. It's the attention span of a coked-up schizo. I can't believe I'm talking about David Milch here. But here we go.
I'm curious as to why you're evoking him as well.
David Milch has always been an advocate for skipping the outline. He calls it a lie. Just write, and you'll discover as you do so. Discovery. Some of these films lack on every level. Harry Boxley doesn't even have the wherewithal to recognise the potential his own scenarios conjure. For example, like you said early on, the seed is planted this will be a competition between Mickey and Pooh. Who can source the best subject? There's your film.
Absolutely, yeah. Winnie the Pooh, Mickey Mouse, both going around killing people.
Yes.
To find the best parts.
And then sabotaging each other for the ultimate catch, right? Yeah. Culminating in a battle between the two.
Which is great because it's horrific because obviously they're slasher villains, and when they do eventually catch these people, they're subject to horrific deaths.
Yeah.
Because they're usually like mining them for parts while they're still alive, like when he's cutting out the eyes and everything. Although, as you say, that doesn't even... He eats it, so it just defeats the whole point. Yeah. But there's something almost cartoony about that.
Yeah.
About like getting ready to catch someone, but then getting like Coyote and Roadrunner.
Exactly, or like kind of Itchy and Scratchy was kind of playing off that Tom and Jerry thing. Well, here's the thing. Because, it's sibling rivalry at once petty and juvenile and blood-curdling. So it doesn't even have to be about the victims, the film.
No.
Right? And there's a little novel spin. They could be incidental, laughably incidental even, to these slasher beasts. Humour can be mined from their utter indifference to human life.
Which is great because...
So one's about to like cut their throat and the other one goes, no, need an arm, you know, and it's like, they're not people. They are just carcasses and meat.
Absolutely. I mean, you complained, this was in Piglet in fairness, but you complained about like, the autistic girl. It was like drawing in the woods while the other couple go off to fuck. And then you're like, okay, so she's going to be the main character then. And then she just gets killed instantly. Yes. Like, it's a flaw there because they're clearly implying character that they never follow through on. Whereas here, that's almost the joke. Is you give someone something that's immediately recognizable as like a character trait, like they're drawing or they're doing this or they're doing that. It's like, oh, let's see how that develops. Oh no, she's just fucking killed.
Well, like another thing reminiscent of In a Violent Nature, you know, you do it from the killer's perspective, but you know, and you get like, the thing I liked about that film was, it's like a serial killer / a B movie is happening
off screen.
Yeah. And they allude to this history and the supernatural thing behind it all. It's like, you could do that with this. 2 slashers like where the victims are basically extras.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, they are set at odds, the two of them, but then we just see Mickey stalking his prey like a twat. Never poo.
Yeah, you never see poo.
Never poo after that. Yeah. Then the film does briefly become MVP, Mickey v. Pooh, at which point it decides to leave the characters we've been following. They even leave the funfair. They go out to sea on a boat for some reason. And the main character just hangs about for the night to wrap it all up in the morning in the funfair. Yeah. Dr. Mouse tells us that he used to work in a maximum security prison as a doctor, where Mickey was his most violent inmate. He calls him his son too, but I don't know if that's meant to be literal, but considering it's Dr. Mouse, you'd think it is, right? But whatever the fuck.
That would require me thinking about it more than the writer clearly has.
He says he also treated some of Mickey's victims. How does that work?
I don't know, like if he's in the prison, did Mickey like...
I don't think that's what he meant though, right? Like he got arrested for killing all these people. So I also treated some of his victims. Okay. There's a line from Dr. Mouse about everything being customizable in this day and age. So why not customize a bride? Now there could be something there, a little something about dating apps and the futile search for perfection, about companionship contingent on a shopping list, the search for a potential partner akin to flicking through the pages of an Argos catalogue. But they don't do that.
There's nothing there.
They had a fun fair. God, the things I could do with just that location.
Well, that's what one of the things that makes this so much worse than Piglet is Piglet. It's just like another cabin in the woods, and it's not it's not a particularly interesting one. No. It's just a generic cabin in the woods. It's not even as like interesting as the one in Blood and Honey, and that was generic as well. Yeah. This is a fun fair. The potential, and I mean, I know you're practically limited because you're just filming at a fun fair. You can't actually like. You probably can't use many of the rides, and you can't like. Even then, it's like, right, how are we gonna like if we're gonna run someone over with a dodgem? Like, how are we even gonna do that practically?
We'll literally talk about that in a second.
Oh, really? Yes. Okay. But no, just like the location. I mean, it's such a cinematic location.
It's ripe, isn't it? Yeah. Because even if the script is locked, right, is gospel, you can still be inventive. Let's just say, the script is what it is. Okay. There's a bit where Mickey runs over a bloke's head with a dodgem. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. It cuts to black before he hits him.
Yeah.
Itself a disgrace when there's an opportunity for gore in what's meant to be a gore film.
Yeah.
Use a watermelon with a face drawn on it. Literally, right? Use obvious dummies. Contrived forced perspective. For one of the female roles, use one of the male actors in a wig. Like you were forced to double up. Yeah,
because I really think this is... When we're going this far down the chain in terms of, like, you know, at the very top, you've got, like, Dune 2. In terms of, like, cinematic production value.
Yes.
This is the total opposite end of the scale.
Yeah, there's me filming something now on my phone. That's the lowest you go.
Yeah.
Might be better. But, do you know what I mean? Yeah, then there's this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think, like, you can get away with... Like, if someone's watching this...
Yeah.
They're sort of clued into your limitations.
If you're watching this, you know the filmmakers were operating on stark limitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's an opportunity to kind of, like, play with that.
Yeah, because you're not fooling anyone about your budget. You're not like film around it. No, it's okay. No, if we can only be kind of shit.
Yeah,
let's make it funny.
Yeah,
fun. You know.
Yeah. But that's one of the more baffling things about these films. All of these films.
Yeah.
Because they're not like. There's not a sense that they're trying. Like they can't be trying.
No.
As you say, considering how little attention has been put into just the integrity and the continuity of the script of this film.
Yeah.
Shows like how little effort is being put in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels like the films are almost afraid of looking like they're not trying.
Yes, you brought this up before, is what I wanted to say next, which is, we've talked about the core issue of these films being a lack of a sense of humour.
Yeah.
So all we're left with is to view them as sincere horrors. But yeah, like you said before, they're afraid not to take themselves seriously.
Yeah.
Like, we'll condemn them, even as nobody expects quality.
No, exactly.
So it is a bizarre little paradox there.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I can't speak for everyone that's going into these films, but I don't feel like it's a leap in logic to say that I'm here for fun.
Of course.
You know? It'd be nice if there's like genuine quality here.
Yeah.
But this whole enterprise is just supposed to be fun.
Yeah, like, it just does a basic, like, self-esteem thing. Like, don't you want people laughing with you?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, there was shit. You know, The Room was definitely not made to be shit.
No.
But since everyone said it was shit, Tommy Wiseau has leaned into that. And
Yes.
Yeah, I know. It was the whole time. But why not just do that?
There's a video on YouTube. I think it's part of the important videos playlist. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think it's called The Strongest Motherfucker in the World.
Okay.
And it's like a 7-second video. I don't know the context for it. It looks like it's taken from some amateur student production.
Right.
Or it might literally just be a guy in his room.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the video, it's like 2 shots. Well, technically 3, but that's what I'm going to get into.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shot of like a guy in front of the camera, like a close-up on his face, of him just going, "I'm the strongest motherfucker in the world, bitch."
Okay.
And then it cuts to a guy that's like sitting in front of him in a hoodie.
Right.
Looking up at him. And this guy like boxes his ears and crushes his face.
I've seen just that, I think.
Yes. I think that's all there is.
Not the dialogue, but I haven't even seen the dialogue.
Oh, right,
I think
okay.
I've literally just seen a...
Yeah.
Maybe I have seen it, though. I don't know.
So you see, it's a guy. It's an actual guy sitting there looking up at him. In fact, it might even be the same guy that said the initial line.
Yeah.
Like, that's how low budget this is. He's looking up at him, and this guy boxes his face. And as he crushes him, you can tell that it's like this like cheap prosthetic mask.
Yeah.
And there's like cake mixture inside. It's like pushing out of the orifices.
Right.
But the cut
Yes.
between the actual guy and the prosthetics is fucking perfect.
And that's basically all anyone talks about.
Yeah.
Like, because we've accepted this isn't Dune.
Yes.
And so, yeah, just the fact that there's something really good in it.
Yeah.
Go, okay.
But that's the
This
thing.
doesn't even need that. It just needs to at least kind of go, I really found that bit funny.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's the prosthetics are cheap and they are thrown together and they are not convincing in the slightest.
No, it's like a pizza.
But the cut is convincing.
Sorry, I was talking about the...
Exactly. But the cut is convincing.
Yeah.
So convincing that it fools you for like a second.
Yeah.
And then you realise what's happened and you've been tricked. And it's funny.
Yes.
That, for me, that is the perfect microcosm of what these films should be aiming for all the time.
Yes,
Absolutely. Even if it is like you said, a watermelon, that they haven't even bothered putting a fake mask on. It's just a green watermelon.
Yeah, with Sharpie with a face drawn on it.
With a Sharpie with a face
Genuinely.
drawn on it.
Yeah, because like, oh my god.
If you can...
And like, have it long enough that people notice it and find it funny.
Yeah.
But not long enough that you wanted to disguise it.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's getting quite meta, but sort of make the joke look at the limitations we had.
Yeah.
That's why I would say go to the length of putting an actor in a wig.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, our actress dropped out. So, like, I'm like the slasher happening off screen.
Yeah.
As a cine literate person who, anyone who's watching this is going to be kind of cine literate.
Yeah.
It's slashers anyway. They're putting together the production realities behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Or like Garth Marenghi, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That sort of thing where I'm seeing what's happening behind
And I think what you're pitching there is totally its own beast, where you're basically pitching a Garth Marenghi slasher film.
Yes.
Like that's a whole project, because you have to write the film first in terms of like what it looks like when there's nothing going wrong. Then you have to convincingly. It's almost like One Cut of the Dead.
Yeah.
Where you've got the first half of the film is just this one take, where there's all this like weird stuff that doesn't quite get explained. There's like weird little continuity errors, and there's moments where the actors seem to be looking at something that you never see, and then the second half of the film shows the production reality of making that.
Yes.
Obviously, it's all fictional.
Yeah,
but like you learn, like, oh, at that moment, that character was looking at the director telling them to keep going.
Yeah.
The reason this scene lasts weirdly long is because the other actor's been knocked unconscious and they need to like put something in.
I'm not even talking about that, because that's high level filmmaking. Yeah. Right. I'm not talking about that because I'm just being frank and honest. Nobody involved with these films is that talented.
No.
Right. The writing, it's just, you can't expect that.
Yeah.
So that's why I made the point. Like, treat the script as gospel, like it's locked.
Yeah.
You can still do everything I just mentioned within that framework.
Yes.
You can still do the watermelon head. You can still do, it's a male actor in a wig.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is gospel. I have to shoot this, do I? Right. Then within that content, how can I play with it and make it funny?
Yeah, like the dodgem running the guy over. You can cut to a miniature, an obvious miniature.
Exactly. Or like I said, forced perspective. And just kind of,
the fucking Lego movie that had all of the money in the world behind it still did shit like that.
Yes.
Like when they're leaving Cloud Cuckoo Land and the guy jumps into the pirate ship, it cuts to like this like miniature 2D diorama, and it's just the guy going as the ship like whizzes away.
Right.
Those guys, like that stuff injects a personality into the film that people will enjoy and resonate with. And it allows you to skirt around a lot of the production realities.
This is it's kind of common with a lot of bad films, and this might be the most controversial thing I say, but there is an autistic quality to it in that it has absolutely no self-awareness.
Yeah.
That people are going to be laughing at it. Like, no, this is serious. We're trying to make a slasher film. It's like, there's kind of not enough humanity behind it to kind of to inject those idiosyncrasies and that sense of humour.
Yeah.
You know, Edgar Wright made a film when he was like 17, janky as fuck, but it's entertaining and it's funny because he knew, and he knew how to make films and what he wanted to do and all that kind of thing. It's like, I can't do that, so I have to make it amusing.
Yes.
Nothing about this has that. It's people that sincerely are like, let's act. Let's like,
and even if they share a writer and they share a production company, and as you say, like the guy that plays Mickey Mouse in this, also played Tigger in Blood
Louis Santa.
It's like, even though they share some creative force or ideology. I mean, all of these things feel ridiculous to say. I know. But there's one bloke that does a lot of them. Yeah. But like Rhys Frake Waterfield is not involved in any of these. It seems like.
No,
but
he's above this.
Oh yes, yeah. But just like his interview, I can't remember what we saw it on, but when they said when people found out he was making Blood and Honey, and he said in an interview that as soon as I found out that Winnie the Pooh was going public domain, I was like, man, we got to put a knife in that guy's hand,
right?
But not recognizing the silliness of what he just said,
right?
Like, that's the film. It's this bizarre, like, it's freaky because it's like a horror film, but it's silly and bizarre because it's Winnie the Pooh.
All I can think is that they think the very fact of it is funny. Yeah. The very fact that it's Winnie the Pooh with a knife. I don't have to do anything else with that. I don't have to make jokes like that. If it was Winnie the Pooh with a knife, it would have the beginning of being the start of being funny because whatever, with like looking like Winnie the Pooh, but it is just like a bear mask, like kind of vaguely Pooh. So you do have to actually put. Seeing a Winnie the Pooh cartoon where he starts murdering Piglet and everything is grotesque and funny because it looks like Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, but these films don't look like any of those things.
No, and they don't even like they're not even aware enough or talented enough to evoke the spirit of those characters.
No, especially these two. Like you thought Blood and Honey was bad. These are worse. Yes. Imagine that, I laughed at it a few times. I laughed in the opening scene, but I think that was fatigue setting in. I laughed at the climax where the girl Dr. Mouse is holding captive gets the upper hand by gently brushing the gun he's holding.
Yeah. Well, he is pretty old, like
to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed Janet, the protagonist's mum. She's a totally pointless character, but the right flavour of weird and rubbish.
Oh, yeah.
She frantically pulls her husband aside and says, on the news, they're calling him the killer. Inventive,
Yeah.
When Mickey,
is she the darts champion?
Yeah, this is it. When Mickey breaks in, she says, never provoke a darts champion, before throwing a couple at him. And there are only 2 darts, which is the film in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then there's some unhinged, hysterical, badly ADR'd screaming. She was my favourite. In the immediate aftermath, the father finds his daughter and tells her, I'm not going to lose you the way I lost your mum. Except even worse acted than that.
Yeah.
Firstly, he doesn't seem all that broken up about it. She responds, I miss her too, but we gotta go. She just found out her mother's dead.
Yeah.
Him saying what he just said was her finding out. Fucking alien, the whole thing.
Yeah.
The CG is next level atrocious.
First, this CG in this.
I know. First, there's some skeletal remains, then a guy being electrocuted, and then a tank housing the bride being shattered, which is the final shot of the film, which was a note to leave on. But also a shark. I think that was the moment where I was going to say jump the shark, but it was for you. That was your breakage moment, wasn't it? I mean, we knew it wasn't any good, but then that shark, we were both just like, I think there was stunned silence.
Well, the film had hit rock bottom for us a long time before that, but they somehow still managed to tunnel through.
Yeah, they dug beneath rock bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's at the tail end of... Yeah, fuck it, I'm going to spoil it. It's at the tail end. Yeah, I think it's at the tail end of a Mickey Mouse Winnie the Pooh fight sequence.
Yeah.
Where Winnie the Pooh is kind of getting the upper hand. And I think I think we kind of looked at each other and was like, is he really going to win? Because like, even though it's like a Winnie the Pooh Mickey Mouse versus film, or at least that's what it feels like it's trying to be, it is called Mouse of Horrors, and Mickey Mouse is on the poster.
Yes.
The only reason we knew it was a versus film is because we saw a screenshot with Winnie the Pooh in it. So like, okay, is he going to get the upper hand in Mickey Mouse's own film?
Yes.
But then, as he's kind of like choking him with the anchor, the chain of an anchor or something, a CGI shark like jumps out of the water, bites Winnie the Pooh in half, then goes back into the water, and like Mickey Mouse starts celebrating that he's like that he's victorious, and then he goes back to the carnival to kill people,
and gets killed straight away.
And he gets killed straight away. Yeah, but like taking out of the equation the fact that it's like a very bad CG shark.
It is.
It might not even be a CG shark that it might literally just be like an asset they bought off a digital storefront.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no water displacement, so the boat is totally stationary while this shark attacks. There's no water that's getting splashed everywhere. Like Winnie the Pooh gets chopped in half, but it's like this 240p compressed blood explosion.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
And there's no gap between that happening and the celebration either.
No,
the timing is just off. You know, because he just did it, and they're like, we'll sort it out in post. They didn't. So it just happens, and he's kind of already dancing.
Yeah,
like there needed to be like a hey, you know. Yeah, none of that.
Because I don't even think they cut to a close up. It's just like they stay in that. It's that
white shot. Yeah.
So you just see him like in the distance celebrating.
Yeah.
It's like they forgot. It's like they didn't even cover the shot properly. They got no coverage of him up close.
It's almost like it, yeah. There's some random indiscernible audio midway through the credits, which are themselves punctuated by, quote, the events, characters, and firms depicted in this photoplay are fictitious, capital V. Then there's a post-credit scene of Dr. Mouse just walking up some steps.
Yeah.
She's killed in the film, and then he's just walking up. But it's not like just a locked off shot of him walking up some steps slowly like an old man. It made me angry and depressed, Jordan.
Yeah.
So we did this to check what the state of the union was. And these are copies of copies. Like I said, we'll still do the wider releases like Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. Otherwise, I'm content to say we know what this cancer is.
Yeah.
We might find a reason to do another one of these films in the future, if it comes from a different country, for example. But yeah, this was the test case. Most people blessedly don't know about them. But this is the worst thing happening in cinema at the moment.
It's pretty shit, yeah.
So if these two aren't in the bottom 10 of the year, and if Mouse of Horrors isn't in the bottom 3 of the year, I quit.
Just simple as that.
I quit this podcast.
Okay.
If
do you quit cinema is the question?
I don't think I can do that.
Okay.
But I will quit just as a stand, somebody somewhere.
Okay.
You know? First they came for the whatever. Like that's where I'm at with this. Someone needs to speak up.
Yeah. That's the thing. This is a year that's already had like Star Trek Section 31.
It's already had 10 really bad films. Yeah.
But these are like far and away.
Yeah, there's like
the worst.
Yeah, the Star Trek Section 31, or maybe another film that we'll talk about on a later episode.
Yeah.
And then this massive gulf. And then these two, as the worst of the year.
So, I mean, just the thought that there could be anything.
We'd have to watch all of them, all of these films. Yeah. I think then it might have some competition, but at a certain level, it's to compare one to the other. I mean, like I said, because we watched Piglet and Mouse of Horrors back to back.
Yeah,
it was easier, and Mouse of Horrors is worse.
Yeah,
but I think mostly they're operating on a similar level.
Oh, pretty much. Yeah.
So, like I said, I wanted that to be a long, definitive review.
Yeah,
just like what we said about those. That's all of them, basically.
But just the thought that like anything outside of this sphere as well. Like you were saying, we'd have to watch all of them to find something potentially worse. Just the thought that there could be something outside of this sphere that might be worse than them is just so worrying.
Things would have been so bleak that it's not worth me continuing.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm making my stand. Yeah.
Okay.
Mouse of Horrors is in the bottom 3. Remember this, listeners. Yeah, listeners. Yeah. Too. And hold me to it. Because, it needs to be there at the bottom of the year. Or I quit.
So that's our
That's my promise.
That's our promise for 2025.
And I think that's it.
That is definitely it.
So, thank you for listening.
Okay, then.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.